Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. Welcome to our home audience as well as to our in-house community, which is celebrating with wonderful hospitality. I tell you, they're throwing it down back there. Yeah, we have some beautiful, beautiful foods to celebrate this morning. And also to invite you to relax, sit back, and enjoy the music of Hiroya Tsukamoto. Hiroya is here this morning, and he's spending the week, I guess, in Georgia. He'll be at not Swananoa, but you will be at Saute Nakuchi Cultural Arts Center this afternoon. So if you're up on the mountains this morning and enjoying the beautiful weather in North Georgia, you can expect to see him up there as well for a 3 o'clock concert, 4 o'clock concert. So Hiroya Tsukamoto is one-of-a-kind guitarist, really. He's a composer. He's born in Kyoto, Japan, and in 2000 he received a scholarship to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and he came to the United States. And he has 2 beautiful children and a wonderful, supportive wife who lets him travel all over the world. And we are so honored to have him here with us this morning. He has a new, he's released 6 albums, and most recently he won the 2nd place in the International Fingerstyle Guitar Championship in 2022. So there you go. He's active musician playing around the world, not just our country, but around internationally. So please welcome Hiroya Tsukamoto.
Thank you. Konnichiwa. Thank you.
Hiroya Sugimoto. Thank you, Hiroya.
My name is Jean Bell. My pronouns are she and her. And I so lovingly serve as one of the staff ministers here at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. Good morning. We are a center that educates and engages the seeker on their spiritual path. As a member of the global movement, Centers for Spiritual Living, our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to their spiritual magnificence, and our vision is a world that works for everyone. Whether it is your first time, you're watching from home, or you are a member of SLCA, please know SLCA is where you belong. For more information about today's service and ways to connect during the week, please take a moment to scan the QR code that is on the back of the seat in front of you or the one displayed on your monitor. We are grateful for your presence here today.
Thank you, Reverend Jean. I invite you to join with me as we sing together in song. You are welcome here. Stand if it feels comfortable to do so, and just join us in spirit at home. There is a space in my heart where I can find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. When we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, there is a space in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. See with new eyes, allow an unfold embrace. Let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom and love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we can ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Come on now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome Welcome here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Look around the room. Say good morning, everybody. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a great day to be together today. I'm David Alexander, spiritual director here. Thank you. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I want to welcome you into Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. I want to welcome everybody watching online on Facebook and YouTube this morning, or watching later after Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Monday morning, whatever it is. We're grateful that you're tuning in. What's that? On the Stairmaster. There you go. In the gym, on the Stairmaster, wherever you are. God is. Amen. I like that. We should probably get a list of let people know, let us where they're doing. We better be careful how we phrase that. We're talking today about our prosperity series. Started this in October. Took a little break last week with special guest Cynthia James. Wasn't she wonderful? So great to have her. Still have, I think, some of her books available, and you can watch her message online. It was fabulous. And started in October on series on prosperity, and so today I'm going to continue that and finish it out next week as well. And today we're going to touch the taboo subject in the prosperity series, which is money. Money. Don't go running out. I shouldn't have told you that so soon in the service, because that's usually one of the things that scares people away. But we're going to talk about it today and address it head on and talk about it from a conscious point of view. Amen? And so today's affirmation is, I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. I am worthy of every good thing my heart desires. Infinite supply flows to and through me now. Let's take a deep breath. And let's say that together again. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. I am worthy of every good thing my heart desires. Infinite supply flows to and through me now. And so it is. All right. Good morning, everyone. Give yourselves a hand for being here today. Let's have a great day.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. And so it is.
Good morning again. So now is our time for affirmative prayer. Let us relax. Put your feet flatly on the ground. Your hands in your lap. Close your eyes if you like. And so as I say these words in the first person, I invite you to accept whatever resonates with you. But this is what I know. I know that there is a living Spirit Almighty, one absolute and self-existent cause. I know that this is one mind, one life, one love, one power, and I know that it is greater than I am. But I know, too, that I can use it because I am one with it. I am indeed an individualized expression of this divine power, this divine source, this divine love. And so as I know this to be the truth for and about myself, I know this to be the truth for everyone that is within the sound of my voice. I know that there is only one thing going on here, and that is God the good. So therefore I know and I declare right here in this moment that this service is blessed. and that Reverend David's words falls on fertile ears. I know that his words are a blessing, and that his message fills us up. Our cups will run over. I know that prosperity is already an established fact for everyone in this room, everyone viewing, and for the spiritual center. I know that prosperity is the theme of the month, but it is the theme of our lives because it is Spirit's theme. It is Spirit's reality. Spirit is unfailing, pressed down and shaken together abundance, running over for all eternity, world without ends. Oh, and with a heart filled with gratitude, I can release this because I know that this power hears me and hears me always. So I release it into this law, this mighty law that receives the direct impress of my thoughts and my feelings, and always acts upon it without fail. For I need not do anything but know this to be the truth. And so I let it be so. And join me by saying, and so it is.
With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. Through me. Amen. Through me. Please welcome back Haruya Tsukamoto to perform an original composition, How Time Like Water Flows. Welcome, Haruya.
Thank you.
Well, I was just like in a little trance over there. I could just sit and listen all day long. It's beautiful. Let's give him another hand. Yes. Ah. All right. Good morning again. Let's take a breath. We'll continue in this series on prosperity. Today we're going to talk about the cloud, the myth that surrounds this idea of what we call money, and try to breathe some new life and some new air of truth into this space today. Finances are often an area of intense friction in our lives. Anxiety sometimes as we journey through our lives, from children, whatever our parents' experience was, to young adults, to working adults, to, if we have kids or family, then moving into retirement. There's a constant theme of our relationship with this idea of money. And so much of our trauma around money, and there is a lot of trauma around money, is based on myths, old, what in New Thought that we used to call stinking thinking, right? Old stinking thinking, false ideas and false beliefs. And so today what I want to do is see if we can apply some curiosity and some awe to those beliefs so that we can set ourselves free. You've heard the phrase and the notion and the teaching, we talk about it all the time in New Thought, which is, it's done unto you as you believe. Right? So we know that consciousness has something to do with this, but so often I've experienced when we start the conversation there, we find ourselves kind of down a road in which we start contributing even to the energy of blame and shame around people's consciousness. And I don't think that's people's intent when they're teaching it. But I think that sometimes happens. We tell people, well, it's all, your experience is due to your consciousness, and if you have thoughts of lack, limitation, and not enoughness, then you're going to experience in your life experiences of lack, limitation, and not enoughness, right? Now, that's a true spiritual principle. But I think sometimes we can present that in a way that people walk away going, oh, I feel so bad. I'm having these thoughts that, feeling bad about my bad thoughts. You with me? Right? And that's no good, right? I say, what's the difference between New Thought guilt, Jewish guilt, Catholic guilt? Nothing, right? There is no difference. It's all guilt. It's not doing us any good. Right? So we want to liberate ourselves from that. So today what I'll do is take a step back. We'll get to the consciousness part. But first I want us to understand that money is a conduit of consciousness. It's the number one thing, right? We'll break that down a little bit. Money is a conduit of consciousness. A conduit is so prosperity is a principle. Like there's a principle in the universe which says there's infinite supply. We can't begin to count the stars in the universe. We can't begin to count the grains of sand on a beach. There's an infinite supply in the universe. Prosperity is a principle. We work our consciousness in relationship to that prosperity idea and find ourselves in flow, right? Circulation is a principle, right? We have things like the Dead Sea where there's no life, not because there's not water coming into it, but because there's no water going out. There's no circulation. Circulation is required in our body. If it gets stagnant, if our blood gets stagnant, then it coagulates, it blood clots, etc. It's not good for us, right? It's got to flow. So circulation is a principle. Prosperity is a principle. But money is a conduit. It's a conduit of consciousness. What does that mean? It's a channel through which energy flows. Okay? And if it's a channel through which energy flows, it means, that it therefore we can see in it, we can see in that channel everything that is in consciousness. Is that making sense? As a conduit through which energy flows or consciousness flows, we can therefore look at it We look at the vibration, the frequency of it, and what we see is these lines of frequency, if we were looking at it like a sound wave or something, and we'd see all the variations and expressions that are in consciousness. Pretty much everything that we create in the physical realm is a conduit of consciousness, right? Relationships are a conduit of consciousness. Our society collectively, our governance and our ways of being and living together are conduits of consciousness. The internet is a conduit of consciousness, right? It demonstrates and it shows what is already there. It can be anything, right? You know, you can find anything on the internet, and you can use it to show anything, to show anything. Right? You can use it to sell anything. You could use it to demonstrate or speak about or express anything, right? And when we look at it collectively, we can say, oh, look, there's all these wonderful things about humanity and beautiful creations, and then, oh, there's all this other stuff, and what is this? Dark energy and, you know, like negativity and abuse and all of that stuff is there too. So is the internet good or bad? Well, it's neither. It's just a conduit. It's reflecting what's already in consciousness. Money is the same thing. Money is a conduit through which the energy of consciousness flows, and it reveals what's already there. And what's there in the collective is, frankly, all kinds of toxic stuff, right? All kinds of messed up thoughts about, lack and limitation and who should have and who shouldn't have and where it should flow and all of those things. So what this means is prosperity is a principle, circulation is a principle, but money is a man-made or human-made social construct made by humans as a conduit of consciousness. This means it has huge potential for good, but it also means it's a channel that's filled up with a lot of toxic BS, right? Which is just belief systems, by the way. Right? Toxic belief systems, that's what it is. The ways in which, right, that money flows, the ways in which it flows into systems and structures that then support and sustain narratives of lack, limitation, poverty, disease, haves and have-nots, etc. The toxic belief systems support the ways and the means by which that energy flows into those systems to reinforce the narrative of those belief systems. That's exactly the way it works in our individual life. Right? We have beliefs, we have thoughts, we have feelings, and we have a collective narrative about who we are. That's generally positive or a little bit of everything or whatever it is, but it's a narrative about your life. I am, and you have this narrative. And you say, I really love these parts and this part. Don't talk about this in company, right? We all have those things about ourselves. Then what happens is our beliefs and our thoughts go out into the world of effects, into the world of experience, and they kind of become like a radar or maybe even like a sonar wave that goes out from us and then bounces off things and comes back and reflects back to us systems, experiences, things in the realm of experience that reinforce our narrative, right? This is the whole premise behind the movement calling itself New Thought. Let's have a new thought, because our world is filled with the collective radar-triggered back experience of the current thoughts, right? And our current reality is always way lagging behind where consciousness is. This is why we have, heroes and paradigm shifters and mystics and prophets and people who are able to see beyond the current reality of things and then bring in something, a new thing that draws people to it, right? New possibilities, civil rights heroes, paradigm breakers in music and arts and creativity and social structures, etc. That's why, that's why they rise above so much, and we put them on pillars and create works of art around them to honor and appreciate them, because they are living not in the current paradigm, right? They've broken free from it, and they allow us to see a new possibility, right? So we want to be that for money in our lives. We want to be that possibility. We want to be that conduit through which a greater good begins to reveal itself, because The current reality is always lagging behind, and our current reality reflects the consciousness that we have that says we need to support and reinforce ideas of lack, limitation, who should have, who should not have, et cetera, right? Can we all agree that our current reality around the idea of money is just a wee bit broken, right? Just a wee bit, right? It's broken. Why? Not because money's bad, right? Money's just a conduit, but because it's based in thoughts of lack and limitation. It's based in an old paradigm of who should have, who shouldn't have, inequity, prejudice, discrimination, racism, sexism, patriarchy, all of those things, right? It's all embedded. And money is just reflecting those things. It's just bouncing it back to us, the way it's working, right? Ernest Holmes says, and I'm sorry, I got the slides turned around. I thought I was going to get to this one first. But Ernest Holmes says, never has there been a cosmic famine. Right? Which I love this idea. Never has there been a cosmic famine. Meaning what? Meaning in the realm of consciousness, in the realm of ideas, in the realm of infinite possibility, like there's never been a famine of possibility. There's never been a famine of infinite potential. It's always there. The famine shows up in physical experience. The famine shows up in our everyday realities. Why? Because we have thought limitation into the cosmic realm. We've said, these people don't deserve, this is hard, this is this, only those people get this, and we got to fight for that. All of those ideas that get in the way of infinite potential flowing through us. So we want to try to break that up today, yes? Yes. Because consciousness it's neither good nor bad, it has the potential to reflect all of this back to us. Therefore, our beliefs create our experience of our life in this world. If we are a clear conduit, somebody say clear conduit. If I'm a clear conduit for the divine to flow, then it's easy and it's natural that flow shows up in all areas of good in our lives, right? But if our conduit is clogged with beliefs that block the flow of good to us, then we experience these things called lack, limitation, poverty, limitation, etc., right? All of this stuff. But it's important to pause here and say, if somebody is experiencing life at the effect of those things, to not simply say, well, as we used to say in this movement in the 80s, what's wrong with your thinking? Right? How did you create that? I used to hate that. I was a kid, and I would hear that. It's like, how did you create that? Oh, step on your toe. How did you create that? Kick you in the shin. How'd you create that? By being a jerk. That's how. Right? So we don't say that anymore. Right? Because it's really, it was never appropriate to begin with, and it's just really out of place principle. Yes, our consciousness has something to do with our experience, but we got to remember that we are not just individuals floating around in our own little vacuum. We're participating in a collective. And the collective, as I said, is always our experience is a lagging indicator of the collective consciousness that's been around long before us, and there's a long train of conscious thought or unconscious thought that has gone into producing a system of inequity, of lack, limitation, of poverty, disease, and all of that stuff. And some people, through no fault of their own, are at the experience of that collective consciousness because people before them have decided that they will be. Am I making sense? So it's metaphysical malpractice to say to those individuals, how did you create that? Their appropriate response should be, how did you create it? Right? How did you contribute to the system that has never been challenged, that has never said, for the same job, men and women should get paid the same amount? What is this, 70% BS? How did you create that? I'm not at fault to that. Just because I have a job and I'm getting paid less for the same work. Right? How did the system create that? Or if it's based on, skin color, or whatever it is, all the other things, right? You understand? How did the system create this? It's been going on forever, and nobody's challenged it. Nobody said, what's going on here? And so, prosperity flows where there's a match in consciousness. We still have to take responsibility for our individual thoughts. We still have to be open to infinite possibilities and vibration flowing through us, that if our own channel is clogged with our own thoughts of lack, disease, limitation, etc., then it's not going to flow. But at the same time, the system has to be available to flow. And this has always been the case. So there's the individual and the collective. And prosperity and abundance show up when there's a match between those two levels, between heaven and earth, between the meta and the macro and micro. When those two things come together, then heaven breaks out all over the place. This is what we want to understand. And so, in terms of understanding our own individual consciousness in it, I want to give you some steps today on how to flow through this and find that place of match between heaven and earth. Sound good? All right. So the first one is a story in Matthew. It's the parable of the talents, and it's the talents are what they're like rubles. They're this the form of exchange. It's not the parable of the talents like I do tap dancing and I breathe fire and it's like it was not like Israel's Got Talent. It wasn't that. It was just like you can go through before these three judges. That'd be interesting. There'd be Simon. He'd still be there. Right? It's not that. The parable of the talents is this form of exchange, and it says that this wealthy man was going on this business trip, and he decided to entrust basically some of his wealth and his good with these individuals, with these servants. And so it says to one servant he gave 5, to another servant he gave 2, and to another one he gave 1. And each, it's interesting the way the scripture is written, it says each did according to their consciousness, right? According to their mind, according to their thinking. And so the one who had 5, it says he went out and he basically traded, and he ended up earning 5 more than he had. And the one that did 2 did the same thing. He invested it somehow and did something with it to such that he got 2 more. And it says the one who had 1 was afraid. And he was afraid of his master who gave it to him. He was afraid of what would happen if he didn't have it when he came back. He just, he was gripped with his own fear and thinking. So he went and he buried it to keep it safe. Then the master comes back from his business trip and he checks in with everybody. And the guy who has 5 says, hey, I did this stuff with it. I got 5 more. Here's your 10. He says, you've done really well. You can participate it says in the joy of your master, which just means in the realm of consciousness, right? You can participate at the feast. You can participate. There's all this symbolism in that phrase. But basically, you've done good, and your consciousness will reflect back to you the good that you've done, right? Same thing with the guy who had 2. He says, hey, I did this stuff with it, and now I got 2 more. So here's your 4, and gives it back to him. Wonderful. And he goes to the man who has 1. And the man who has 1 goes and digs it up, remembers where he had it, and he brings it back. He says, I was afraid. I didn't want to lose it, and I didn't want you to be upset with me, and so I just made sure I had it. And here's your 1 back. And the master says, basically starts calling him names, and it's not a pretty scripture to read at that point. But he basically says, why didn't you at least put it in the bank where it would have earned some interest while I was gone? Right? And the guy says, because I was afraid. And he says, well, I do want to read this part of it here. He says, for unto everyone, he says, therefore take the talent from him, and he takes the talent from him and gives it to the one who has 10. And he says, for everyone that hath shall be given, and everyone that has not shall be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant. This is from I think the King James translation. Unprofitable servant into the outer darkness where there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's where we get that famous line, weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's all about money. Did you know that? All right? And what he's saying is, and this is interesting translation, because in other translations there's all kinds of, derogatory terms written there, but this one is just as the unprofitable servant. The one who, according to his consciousness, did not do with what he had in a consciousness of prosperity, and a consciousness of flow, and a consciousness of stewardship. He was gripped by imaginations of what his master might do to him. And so the master is basically saying, look, I'm not punishing you, your consciousness is punishing you. So go out into the darkness, which is outright outside of the light. The other ones, he says, come into the light, come into the kingdom, come into be in the joy of your master. But I'm casting you out where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But you did that to you. I'm not doing that to you. Your consciousness did that to you. You had these thoughts that produced this result, right? So the first lesson is to do with what we have, to be good stewards of what we have from a consciousness of abundance. Now, we can still acknowledge that there are systems of inequity. Why did the one get 5? Why did the one get 2? And why did the other one get 1? There's systems of inequity around us. We acknowledge that in the present moment, but nonetheless, we still do with what we have in a stewardship consciousness. Are you following me? Then from that place, we can begin to transform the thinking and get rid of some of the myths. If you can just start from the place of, I'm going to do with what I have a consciousness of good. I'm going to do with what I have a consciousness of circulation. I'm going to do with what I have a consciousness of health and abundance. I'm not going to be gripped by my fear and my imaginations of what might happen. It doesn't matter if I've got 5 or 2 or 1. I'm going to do with what I have a consciousness of abundance, a consciousness of circulation, a consciousness of good. From that place, you will be blessed accordingly. Now, there's no magic thinking in this. It's all the law of consciousness responding to us. But then, because money is just a conduit of consciousness, we have to examine the collective consciousness that is flowing around us. Because I don't know if you've ever just tried to do with what you have, and then you realize that, all this other stuff crops up. And you're like, where did that come from? Where did that thinking come from? Where did that idea come from? Where did that fear come from? Where did that, right? You ever have that? Or is it just me? Right? All this negativity starts popping up, and you're like, what in the world? Right? I just got a little bit ahead, and all of a sudden, all this stuff starts flooding my mind. Right? This is the garden or the soil. You see, our work in the science of mind is always in that middle level. We have the circle with the V in it, right? So spirit, mind, and body. Spirit, soul, or the collective creative medium. It's the soil. Seed, soil, plant. So in the soil is always where our work is. And that soil is tending to that garden and saying, whatever's popping up, because there are seeds that pop up that, what do you all call them in gardening? Volunteers? Volunteers. You ever got potatoes and then, next year you didn't plant potatoes, but then why are all these potatoes here? They volunteered. So you might have some things. You go, oh, well, thank you for volunteering that idea, right? Thank you for volunteering that negative thought. Thank you for volunteering that doubt. Thank you for volunteering that fear. No, thank you. Right? We have to examine it. We have to pluck it out and say, what is this? Where did this come from? And there's a number of things that that would be good for us to collectively challenge. One is the idea that doing or being about spiritual work is somehow tied to poverty. This has been a collective consciousness in thought in the realm of collective consciousness for a long time, but not forever. I don't really understand historically where it came from, because I got news for you. Jesus wasn't poor. Jesus was not poor. He came from family of means. He came from a family of means. And then he surrounded himself by people who contributed to his ministry. He had a treasurer among his 12. Poor people don't have a treasurer. Right? They're trying to get some treasure, but they do not have a treasurer. Right? He had he just had means. Buddha, right, left a life of opulence and surrendered it all to go into prayer and meditation to see what the world of suffering was about. But then he didn't stay in abject poverty. He actually created what he called the middle way. That there was a middle way. There was a life of balance that was available to him and to everybody else. Moses came from opulence and wealth. Muhammad, Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, they all came from well-off means. So whatever thought we have about spirituality and being about our spiritual work, somehow this is disassociated from prosperity or flow, knock it off. Knock it off, right? You might say, well, I don't think about those things. Well, I want you to start thinking about those things because again, we're in a collective. So on behalf of me and my family, knock it off. Okay? Because when we're in our spiritual work, it's a place of flow and abundance. It's a place of circulation. It's a place of unlimited good. Yes? The second myth that we have to bust is this whole idea of debt, this whole idea of indebtedness as being, first of all, as being negative. What I want to say about it is that, within, if there's only one thing happening here, within the infinite oneness, there can be no debt or loss, because debt implies losing. But if God is all there is, then it's a matter of flow. And we can be out over our skis, right? Or we can be in balance above them, or we can be behind them. But it's all connected. There is no infinite loss in the universe. It's all connected. So debt occurs when we either agree to pay for something over time in a consciousness of trust and flow, that the money will be there when it needs to be there, because we're continuing to operate and continuing to put ourselves in service in a way that will bring it in at the right time. Or debt occurs out of a lack of trust for the universe to provide for us. It's not the debt that's the issue. It's the consciousness behind it. If we're operating in an activity of flow and saying, I'm putting myself in service, I went to school. I took on loans. I said, I'm going to put myself into service in the world, and I'll have the means to be able to pay that back, right? But if we go from a place of lack of trust and lack the idea that the universe won't be there for us, that we're not worthy of our good, that we need to, take from something else in order to get what it is that we want, then we're producing in that thinking the indebted consciousness or the poverty consciousness that will then visit us. But debt itself is not the issue. It's about being in balance. Does that make sense? Loss comes when we believe that money is ours and that there's only a limited supply coming from certain channels. But when we let go of possessiveness and let go of possessiveness around money and realize that money comes from wealth, which we use, it comes in, it stays, and then it goes out. It comes in, some of it stays, and some of it goes out. It comes in, some of it stays, and some of it goes out. We let go of our death grip on money as our source and supply and open ourselves up to being the conduit through which that flow moves. That's a much different idea, right? This is why, and as I say, this idea has been around forever, because this is why in Jewish law, in Deuteronomy, they explain that all debt shall be forgiven every 7 years. This is why they understood this, because they said, now, if we hold on to this debt forever, then what we're doing, like as we've seen in our current reality and systems, compound interest and all of these different things in which we create systems of inequity in which people who are even earning and doing what they need to be doing in the world can't get ahead, because you can't get ahead of the compounding energy that's building out there, and so you never reach it, right? And the credit card companies and predatory lending and all that stuff know this, and they're creating a game in which we're always chasing and trying to keep up. This is why in Jewish law they said, we're not going to let that happen. Every 7 years, it's wiped out. Start over. Everybody gets a clean slate. Energetically, spiritually, forgiven for thoughts and errors, etc. This was the whole cycle. Every 7 days. On the 7th day, we rest. We let the body rest. Fasting, right? Every once in a while, take a fast, do a cleanse, allow all the toxins that have built up to be released, right? Every 7 years, every cell in your body has, in its own time, regenerated and become a brand new cell. You're a whole new being every 7 years. So there's magic in the numbers in terms of the consciousness behind it. So in Jewish law, they said every 7 years, the debts are gone. They're written off the books. What would happen if you were released from any burden every 7 years? The current administration is trying this out with the student loan debt, right? And then some people are going, yeah, but I had to work hard to pay off mine. They should, da-da-da-da. Please, right? That's another thought, that the suffering that we've had should be inflicted on others. Can we stop that, please? Right? The whole idea behind evolution, the whole idea behind having children and the next generation is that we go through whatever it is that we go through. We got baby boomers in the room. We've got millennials in the room. We've got Gen Xers in the room. We've all gone through whatever we've gone through. and we go through it, we get to the other side, we have a consciousness, and then we contribute to the world such that the next generation doesn't necessarily have to go through the same thing. That's the whole idea. That's why we keep having children. Right? It's so that the world gets better over time. But when we get stuck and we say, well, when I was... It's like, well, I'm sorry, but maybe you need to do some forgiveness work around that and let it go, right? Move on. Next generation, because imagine what they would do if they're freed up to give their gifts and talents. If they're freed up, what would you do if you were freed up every 7 years? I love that idea. And so finally, the last one is the myth of shame and guilt around money. That whether we have too much or not enough or struggling with what we have or whatever it is, there's all kinds of ways in which we get all messed up about, if we have a lot and people around us don't, that we try to hide it or pretend that we don't, or don't let people know, and all of this stuff. I'm not just talking about shame of not having enough or guilt of not having enough. I'm talking about from both ends, because it happens in our society both ways, in which we don't want people around us to really know if we've got more means, because we don't want them to, oh God, they might ask me for something. Oh God, they might expect something of me, let me just keep it quiet, And so on both ends, this energy or consciousness is getting in the way of the flow. When we release that, when we release the idea that being about our spiritual work somehow doesn't have flow or abundance attached to it, we get rid of that. When we get rid of the idea of debt and allow ourselves to just be in flow, some comes in, some stays, some goes out. It's all about circulation and that consciousness. Then we can handle debt in a responsible way, in responsible amounts, right? And not let it get overwhelming. But we also need systems that help produce that. Credit card companies and loan companies and everything else that help produce systems that make that possible. My grandparents could buy a house and pay it off in their time, right? I'm just going to leave that right there. You understand what I'm saying? The systems have, so abundance always flows from when the system matches the individual consciousness, above and below. You understand what I'm saying? The most important thing, though, is this last one in terms of understanding guilt and shame and where we are with it in relationship to it. We have to know our worth. We have to know that we are conduits through which the abundance of the universe flows, that we are worthy of every good thing that we desire. Right? I remember when I kind of just gave myself in service to spirituality and to doing this kind of spiritual work for my life, and I was very young. I was in high school, and I was getting calls to speak and to do these different things, not just in spiritual communities, but in other organizations. And I remember sitting with it because, my mother, single mother, raising 2 kids, she worked 2 jobs most of her life. And, so I couldn't just be like, hey, Mom, this group wants me to go to this conference. And, I had to figure out a way to pay for it or make that happen. And I remember specifically, I don't even know, had been meditating and praying about these opportunities that were coming to me. It was like a junior and senior year, and suddenly this path was unfolding. I was like, this is really awesome. I want to do this for the rest of my life. This feels great. And then I was like, well, how am I going to do this? And I remember being on the phone with this one particular group. It was down in southern New Mexico. And they were doing something, and they wanted me to go to California and then come back for something else after that. And I said, it's great, totally make myself available this summer, do all those things. Here's the deal. All of my expenses have to be paid, right? And they were great with that. And I remember saying it felt like there was a lump in my throat, like, I'm going to have all my expenses paid. And I was bracing for the no and the rejection, right? And their response was, great. They actually expected that, right? They were totally prepared. And so I remember I took that back into prayer and meditation, and I said, okay, universe, totally get how this whole law of consciousness thing works. I was 17 in the science of mind. I was feeling really groovy. I was like, all right, here's how it's going to go. I'll give myself of service, but you got to meet me halfway, right? You got to meet my needs. You got to make it flow, and I'll make myself available, right, at basically at no cost, right? And that's the way the universe started showing up according to my consciousness. every opportunity, that's the way it showed up, because I, in that moment, at that level, at that time, knew my worth at that level. And everywhere that I've gone in every phase of this work that I've done for almost 2 decades now, I've had to up my level. I've had to say, okay, and now it's this. Okay, and now it's this, right? What I was doing, for what is in the artist community for exposure, right? At 17, I was doing it for exposure, right? Love the exposure. Give me the exposure, right? Pay for my flight. Give me the exposure. I want a little bit more than exposure now, right? I want the opposite of exposure. I want to pay my mortgage, so I'm not exposed, right? right? So you up your understanding of your worth and what you're worthy of. When you understand that, then everything begins to flow from you. You got to know your value. So here's how it looks, right? I say, whatever I've got in my wallet. I don't know. Okay, there's a 20. There's a receipt. There's a 10. Okay. I thought I had more than that, but we went to a festival yesterday that required cash. And so that's how it is. So here's a 10 and here's a 20. Who needs some extra money today? Somebody needs some money. Gabrielle? Who needs lunch? I mean, this is lunch right here. Free lunch. All right? Somebody. All right. Who really needs it? Who really? No, I'm just. Yeah. No, you do? Okay. And you need it too? I got a 20 and a 10. All right. Who wants the 20? Here's the deal. We'll figure that out afterwards. All right. You see, they're real 20s, they're real 10s, right? You want them? Okay. What about now? Still want them? Yeah? But they're all messed up. You still want them? Okay. What about now? You still want them? Why? They're the same value. They haven't lost their worth. They haven't lost their worth. They haven't lost their worth. We think just because we've been through something. We think just because we've been stomped on. We think just because we've been through a storm. We think just because somebody said something or did something to us. We think just because we had a bad day or a bad review or a bad week or a bad year or a bad relationship. We think because life has stepped on us, crushed us, and pushed us down that suddenly we're not worthy of something anymore. You've got to remember your worth. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Because the law of consciousness will reflect it back to you. Stay high-minded. Remember your worth, regardless of, yes, there's systems of inequity. Yes, there's bad people that do bad things. Yes, there's all that stuff going on. All that can shift, but not if you're in the right place for it, if you're in the wrong place for it. All that can shift, but only if you're in a place in which the money can flow, in which the resource can flow, in which the conduit good can happen, that all of your needs can be met, that there are people and situations and circumstances that are looking for you right now. Take this in. Take a breath. Just take this in. I used to say when we were searching for a church home in Oregon, we'd been on the run. We're Israelites in the desert. We had a place we were renting, but we were looking for our permanent place. And it was a desire of the community. And I used to tell this story. I said, there was a guy in New York. His name was Henry Emerson Fosdick, actually a Baptist minister. And he was preaching and teaching all over the place. He was, becoming more and more well-known. His sermons were being printed in the newspapers, and people were talking about his consciousness and just everything that was going on there. And somebody came to him one day, and they said, I think you're theologically, the brightest mind in America today, and your voice is needed. I want to build you a church. That individual was Henry D. Rockefeller. That church is Riverside Church in New York City. Built it from the ground up so that it could be the place from which Henry Emerson Fosdick's voice could be heard around the world. I used to tell that when my church was looking for a home. Said, this is possible, right? This is in the realm of possibility. It turned out to be that way. We had a congregation, we found a place, And we did some fundraising, and we had a congregant that came forward with $1.8 million to help us buy this $2 million building. Right? She said, I want the other people to have some skin in the game. So she didn't go all the way. She could have, right? But it's possible. So I want you to take a breath. I want you to feel into that idea that all of your needs can be met, that there are people with resources looking for you. They're looking for your message. They're looking for your talent. They're looking for your gift. They're looking for your contribution. They're looking for you. That you could be supported and you could be freed up, freed from debt, free from the idea of poverty, free from the idea of guilt and shame, and that what you have to contribute is worthy. Spirit finds it worthy, but you have to remember your value. And you have to open yourselves up to the idea that could show up today. Somebody could hand you $20. Somebody could pay for your lunch. Somebody could say, you know what, I need you in this consulting position. I need you in this work. Or, you know what, I think there's a book in you and I just want to give you this seed money. I think that you should go write that book, or you should go do that thing, or you should go do. It's there because never has there been a cosmic famine. So we take that in. I'm a conduit through which the infinite good and supply flows. I am worthy of everything that my heart desires. And the infinite supply flows to and through me now. It flows to and through me now. It doesn't stay with me. I don't store it up and keep it from other people. It comes to me and moves through me. I'm a conduit, and I use what I can, and I share the rest. I use what I need, and I share the rest. I circulate with a consciousness of good. This is why places like Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta are so important, because we're places that are building the new paradigm in you, in us, and in our collective society. This is why it's worthy of our good. Why even us collectively need to stand in this truth as a spiritual community. You don't walk into Starbucks and say, I want to, whatever it is, the drink, and how much is that going to be? And the barista doesn't look back at you and go, well, what is it that you feel like paying today? What can you afford? What can you, right? We don't go to the gym and say, I want to take all the classes and do all the things. And they go, yeah, just drop some money on your way out. There are fees. There are ways of being, there's a relationship. A spiritual community is no different. There's a relationship that's built here that requires a certain amount of good to flow into it so that it can do what it does. You can take advantage of all of that, and then it can circulate back out into the world. When we know our worth, everything that we need will show up. Take that in again, and let's anchor it in our affirmation. Yes. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. It's okay, just listen right now. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. I am worthy of every good thing that my heart desires. Infinite supply flows through, to, and through me now. Take a breath. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. Your turn. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. I am worthy of every good thing that my heart desires. Your turn. Infinite supply flows to and through me now. We'll do it again. I free my mind to be an open conduit of good. Your turn. I am worthy of every good thing that my heart desires. Infinite supply flows to and through me now. And so it is. And so we let it be. Ashe, amen. Peace and blessings.
A little bit of setting up to do, but once again, thank you, Rev D. Reverend David Alexander. Fabulous. And Hiroya Tsukamoto is here again to share with us music, and I just wanted to invite us to consider, you live in New York, and how was the pandemic for you? I mean, that's an open question, but we know many artists were closed down, and you've been working online, and now you're touring again. So tell us about your
it
tours.
Before pandemic, I had been traveling every week to different states, and it suddenly shut down, and I had to stay in my apartment in New York City with the 2 little kids, and which was great, but which was tough too at the same time. But I composed many new songs during the time.
And today you'll be at Sote Nakuchi in North Georgia. So if anybody is online and you're watching, he's going to be in the North Georgia mountains this afternoon. It's a perfect day, right, to be up there. So once again, welcome Hiroya Tsukamoto. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I wrote this next piece I'm going to play in the mountain in Utah several years ago. And I had some shows in Utah. But after finishing all the shows, me and my wife decided to take 2 days off to explore. And we ended up renting a Jeep. But I was too scared to drive a modified Jeep, so I asked my wife to drive a Jeep. And we went through lots of steep canyons. And after going through those canyons, a couple of hours, we got to this beautiful natural stone bridge with a huge red rocks. And we stayed there for a while. And I had my guitar in the Jeep, so I picked up the guitar and started playing by the natural bridge. And after a while, this piece came about. So I named this piece as the name of the place. And this one's called Gemini Bridge. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And Reverend David, thank you for that message on prosperity. Give them both a hand. Okay, now it's time to acknowledge any first-time visitors. Do we have any first-time visitors? Please stand so we can welcome you. All right, we're all family here. So let's enter now our time for grateful giving. We want to thank each and every one of you for faithfully giving to SLCA. It is because of your contributions, your prosperity, that we can continue to spread our message of oneness. So thank you. If you're inspired by this message today, please consider becoming a pledger or give whatever you can from your heart. All right. Oh, there's more. Excuse me. You can conveniently text your gift to 404-800-9467. Hi, Janet. I want to talk to you, so don't go away. You may also give with a credit card on your or on the website by using our digital program with the QR code displayed on the screen. If you wish to give by cash or check, our ushers will be coming through the aisles shortly for your contribution. So take your pledge card and hold it to your heart, or take your gift and hold it to your heart, and say this affirmation with me. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you.
Connect, grow, serve, and give, living life where you belong. Connect, grow, serve, and give, loving everyone. You belong, you belong, you belong, you belong.
Thanks, Penelope. Hello, everyone. I'm Mally Lupite, and I gladly serve on the Creative Arts team here at SLCA. We have so many great opportunities to connect, grow, serve, and give at our center. For more information about today's announcements, as well as other opportunities, take a moment to scan the QR code in front of you, or the one in our lobby and the one displayed online. You may also visit our information wall in the lobby, like I just said. One thing I'd like to do is thank everyone who is a loyal pleasure. Thank you for faithfully giving to SLCA. Our weekly email newsletter on Monday is a wonderful way to start connection with SLCA during the week. If you are not currently receiving the newsletter and would like to, please speak with one of us following the service. We've made it easier for you to connect with SLCA Spiritual Education with our website, newthoughtheducation.com. Check out the website to register now for educational opportunities. Our classes are offered in person, via Zoom, and on demand. Join us this Saturday, October 29th at 6 p.m. for game night. Rah! Right here at SLCA. I expect every one of you to be here. It'll be fun. Let's see here, where was that announcement? Bring your favorite game, bring your game face, bring a great snack, and have a fun-filled evening. I will be there. SLCA is a proud sponsor of the Global Village Welcome Walk. This is our second year joining this amazing organization that shares our vision of creating a world that works for everyone. If you're interested in joining us for this walk on November 5th or finding out more information about Global Village, please see Reverend Jean after the service today. Plan now to join us for a town hall meeting immediately following service on November 6th. We'll be sending out an annual report email by October 31st for your review before the meeting. This email will also provide a Zoom link for those needing to join us virtually. On November 6th, we'll also have an interactive drumming and meditative workshop with Danny Stern, beginning at 8 p.m. No, beginning at 1 p.m. Right, by 8 p.m., you'll be in the zone. During this event, Danny will perform a trance drumming concert, followed by some active meditation techniques and a group drumming circle. This master world musician will guide the group in timeless techniques using the drum and rhythm. SLCA is thrilled to bring back an afternoon of jazz, soul, R&B, presented by Gratitude Jazz. Enjoy the positive atmosphere and cool vibes of Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. This performance is free and open to the public and will be held on Saturday, November 12th, from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Our mission is to bring people together with the community while enjoying stellar music. All ages are welcome. Will our practitioners please make themselves known both in person and in the online chat at this time to be recognized? Hello. Thank you. We welcome each of you in need of prayer to remain in the room and reach out to a practitioner online for one-on-one prayer with a licensed practitioner. They'll be in person, in the front of the sanctuary on both sides after the service today. Thank you for joining us this morning. May your week be filled with love, peace, and happiness. You belong.
Okay. There we are. I invite you to join with me and stand and close out this wonderful service. And thank you again for being here with us this morning. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. Yes, we do. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. We see all people, all beings as expressions of God. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. We see a world that works for everyone. Everyone, 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 yes we do. Everyone. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for being here.